afternoon, or evening, wherever you're catching us from, or if you're watching us on a replay, maybe you can put a hashtag replay. And if you're watching us live, put hashtag live. We just want to know more about you and hopefully that we can answer some of the questions. Nicole, how are you doing today?
I am doing so well, Glenda. Listen to this. I got up at 5 o'clock. I got ready. I went with my daughter to North Carolina to see a mailbox. And it's really interesting. It's the book. Nicholas Spark wrote a book about this. So I've actually been from South Carolina to North Carolina and back today. And I'm so excited to be here because you know I love my Wednesdays. And I'm really excited about our guest today. So I can't wait.
Yes, we have a very special guest, and I'm really excited to introduce her to you all. She's a very, very special woman on so many different platforms. So let me give you a brief introduction and you know, because I don't want to delay her time with us at all, because, you know, as we always say, the hour just flies by. So we're going to be talking to Judy Ben-Asher, who is an expert in the DNA discovery, and she is also a certified NLP practitioner, a certified integrated nutritionist, and a 5-element theory, and an expert in mindset. So, like, she's just beyond her worlds. Well, and as Judy said, while working on a documentary about her own healing, Judy discovered that she was not related to her father and that she is currently caretaker of. And as a result, she experienced identity level trauma and has made it now her mission to help others navigate in a more ease, calm, and simplicity in the crazy ripple effect that this discovery gave to her. And I can only imagine. Consequently, Judy now works with people who have gone through or are going through a DNA discovery so that they can manage the ripple effect and find out more about that, and also to help them go through that transition in life. Also, on top of all this as well, Judy was recently interviewed by the one and only Oprah. And she will explain to us and share her experiences with Oprah. And I'm not even going to go into more because, you know what, there's no other person to tell us all about it than the one and only Judy Ben-Asher. Welcome.
Hi. I'm so grateful to be here and be with you guys.
Well, we're incredibly grateful for you to be coming on our time here on our show. And we want to learn all about all of this. But let's start going back a little bit and tell us, you know, why well, first of all, you've got quite a few areas of expertise. How did you get to all this?
You know, it's interesting how life works, right? Because I never saw coming what I'm doing now, and it continues to just be that way. But I'm just very curious by nature. Two of my friends dubbed me Truth Seeker so long ago, and now that's my business, is Truth Seeker Wellness. And I've been equally interested in film and television and holistic healthcare my whole life, and writing and developing, and I did voiceover for animation. And while I was doing all those things, I just wanted to know more about the body and healing and health. And I started a documentary about my mom's cancer. Well, the impetus was my mom's cancer, about healing. And so I went back to school for all these things, integrative nutrition, even feng shui, because feng shui is sort of like acupuncture for your space. And I really believe that if you're in a space that it doesn't feel good, that we can change it. And it doesn't have to mean purchasing anything. It's just sort of rearranging. And I love that. And so I wanted to know more. So I always deep dive, you know, and same with 5-element theory and NLP. I found NLP because my mom was convinced she wouldn't survive cancer. And I wanted to understand the mechanisms in the brain and in the spirit that lead us to decision, you know, because once we decide something, it's how do we get in, so I really wanted to understand NLP for that reason, and started working with Terry Hickey, who's masterful with NLP, and have since become, licensed and certified and all those things. So yeah, I'm fascinated by all of it. And also with manifestation, I know when I decide, I will have that thing. So, and it works both ways, for good or not for good, depending on how you want to frame it and how you want to say it. So for me, if I make a decision about something, that happens. Whatever it is going to happen. And so I'm very specific now with my thoughts, and it's like choosing a shirt or, a partner. I put a lot of thought, not into my shirts, but I put a lot of thought into the people like you in my life, that I want to surround myself with and be uplifted by. I put a lot of thought into that, and I put equal thought into my thinking.
Wow. Yes. And I agree with you 1,000,000%, because I feel the exact same way. Whether it's going to be good or it's going to be bad, you decide really ahead of time by your feelings and everything with that. So, just quickly, if you can, because I don't want to spend too much time on this area because you've got too many other areas. Can you explain what 5-element theory is?
Yeah. 5-element theory is, the wind, air, water, metal, those things, all have direct effect on us and our psyche and the way we think and feel and eat. And just like the earth has seasons and where you live has seasons, so does the climate in our bodies. And so when you sync up the climate in your body to the climate outside, there's a little bit more ease in digestion, and there's a little more ease in thought. And it really does ascending and descend through your body. Our thoughts can either lift us up or push us down. And that's the same with food. If you eat a certain food, you might feel heavy or you might feel lighter, right?
Right.
And it's different for every person, every body, because of where we live in the world, what's available to us. If there's a fruit stand on your corner, or if there's, a Walmart grocer, all things are great. It's just, what do we have access to? What do we have the finances for? How can we think differently? So those things are all really the same thing. And so 5-element theory really is a deep dive. It's based on Chinese medicine, and I just am fascinated by it. And it, Chinese medicine, acupuncture, feng shui, 5-element theory are all within the same sort of realm of thinking. And please forgive me if somebody doesn't agree with that. That's my take on it. And that's what I love about it, is that I can relate it to the other things that I've studied in my life. And I find it really helpful.
And, part of the thing is in life is we all have a choice of what we want to believe in.
Right.
So it's something that we feel that it can empower us to grow, to be our best selves. And that's all that's necessary. It's not up for whether it's right or wrong. If it's right for us, you go for it, right?
Yeah. Yeah. It just, people feel so strongly about these things. I'm not trying to offend anybody. It's just the way I think. Yeah.
And you know what I like? I like the fact that you're connecting everything. Everything connects in one way or another to make a whole. The Chinese medicine and the way we take in our nutrition, and like you said, what we can afford. And I love that you mentioned, a fruit stand or farmer's market or Walmart, because there's a huge difference in how you feel after you eat one or the other.
Yes, and not everyone has access to all those things, right? So no matter what you have access to, there's a way forward, and it doesn't have to cost everything. It's really energy and how we utilize it.
Absolutely.
So the next part that what made me really wonder about is you're really an expert and gone into it with DNA discovery.
Mm-hmm.
And why did you go down this alley, and how did you get involved with DNA? Because not a lot of people get involved in, I have, because I have genetic situations in my life. So I've been involved with it for years, but this is not usually something that most people dive into.
Yeah, it's, it sort of happened just like life, right? I was doing this documentary that was about health and healing, starting with my mom's cancer, and I wanted to know more about my health history. During filming, I did a DNA test, and um, long way round, found out that my dad wasn't my dad, and I never that never was a possibility in my head. I was his caregiver.
Yeah.
At the time, I had left LA with my husband, who I met in 5th grade, who's wonderful, who came with me. And we started this new life in Arizona so I could be near my dad and my family and help caretake him. And while I was there, I found out I wasn't his biological daughter. And and I have tools, like a lot of us do. I have a lot of tools, and I had even more tools than a lot of people at that time, and I still did quite a beautiful swan dive into nachos and Reese's Pieces and ignored everything I ever learned and laid on the couch and was paralyzed. And, it's that one little crack of light comes in, and I knew what to do next. And another little piece of light came in and I knew what to do next. And then I leaned into all the things that I was teaching in the documentary. And and then I also had a feeling, it was almost like you're being pinched, like I had to do it, that I needed to help other people that were going through the same thing. And there's no language for it. So I created my language for it, and I call it identity level trauma. Because of my NLP background, identity is sort of a platform and a way in, depending on where your trauma is. We can figure out a sort of best way round, so it's not harmful to talk about, but we can help people through. And so I started doing it for myself and realizing that this is effective and people don't know, and I want to help. And then I also had this feeling that I should reach out to Dr. Richard Carmona, who's a man that used to work at the same, he knew my dad from St. Mary's Hospital in Tucson. He trained my sister on how to be a medevac nurse in Tucson, and she was sadly killed in a helicopter crash. He went to go get her, and I didn't know him personally, but I knew of him because of my sister's death, really. And I just felt this strong feeling that I needed to reach out to him, and I wanted to know if he knew any geneticists that I could talk to, because he did become the Surgeon General of the United States. And so I knew a foundation that he worked at, and I put his name at the front of it, and I found him, and he emailed me back, and we got on the phone, and within like 40 minutes, during our call, he asked if he could be my partner, my business partner. And so now we're doing a podcast about it and working on other bigger projects about it. And so we can really be of service globally. Because when I went through it in 2019, so did 26 million people. And now after
Wow.
it's a huge number, right?
Wow.
So, and those are people that took a DNA test for other reasons, specifically like filled out a form and they were looking for something and then found this. So, and that number comes from MIT Tech. So we now think it's about triple.
Wow. Okay, so give us a little bit of a walkthrough. You send out a DNA because this to me is, listen, it's always something, and I think maybe this is something that's going to grow because there are a lot more of affairs that are going on in the world and so on because of the way life is and whatever. Or maybe there isn't more. Maybe it's just exposed more than it ever was.
I think there's transparency now.
Yeah,
I do too. Absolutely.
Yeah.
So what do? You found out about it and you went plunging downward, which is normal.
Yeah, I had never heard anyone talk about it, or I never read about it. I knew it was going on in the world, but I had no idea what to do. And typically you open your email, you look at your results, and then you go pick your kids up from school, or you're driving the school bus, or you're going to work as a police officer. We usually just go and do our day, right? And I really, my biggest concern for people is that we're not giving ourselves any time to process. And I think it's really urgent and important. So once I discovered that I needed time to process, I just literally laid on the couch until I knew what to do next, So I created a map for people to make it so simple. And they're basic things. I didn't recreate the wheel. If you're not brushing your teeth, bacteria builds in the mouth, you can get sick. Brush
Right.
your teeth. Brush your teeth. You don't have to do 2 minutes. You don't need your timer. Just make sure to, clean your mouth. Things like that. Just really important basics to get going. And then I go much deeper when we're talking about conversations, like how to have a conversation with your dad. Did he know? Did he not know? Figuring all that stuff out.
Because when we go into it and we hit a tailspin and we all of a sudden a piece of news, and it's not necessarily this, but it's something else, we go into a world where we kind of freeze.
Yeah.
Right? So when you said this about just brushing your teeth, it sounds so simple, but people just allow, they just all of a sudden the world drops.
Yeah. Well, it becomes a that doesn't matter kind of an attitude, or the word and it behind it. It's just
Yeah.
we get into this mode of nothing matters, everything is a lie. It's just a spiral. And so I'm saying, stop, take a breath, shower, brush your teeth, and then go back to the couch. Like, you can still go back to the couch, but do these things to keep yourself well while you're in a trauma. It's how to navigate an active trauma. Um, and it ebbs and flows depending on every conversation. So it's not, I've had people ask me if I'm over it yet and that kind of thing. And that's because there's not enough awareness about what it is. And it's not a death. It's not something you get over. It's something you navigate, and it's waves. And every day, every minute, you feel different based on how you slept and what you ate and who you spoke with and how you're nourishing yourself. All those things come into account. So, some people have a lot of hard times during the holidays, that kind of thing.
Right.
First birthdays, there's a lot of deceit involved. Typically, not always, but typically. And so the deceit is the hard part. So I liken it to the stages of grief with an added little bonus of deceit in there.
Yeah, because it's also a factor of really even little things like you get sick and then you wonder, if it runs in the family or all these type of things, so that you have to go through.
Right. And DNA is really important, I think, to understand, because of health concerns. And oh my goodness, my biological dad had some doozies, and I didn't even know, like, he had breast cancer. I didn't even know men could have breast cancer. And I work in holistic healthcare. It's just things that you just don't even understand that are important. And so, yeah, I think it's really important to know and go through your DNA. And that's sort of what we're doing on our podcast, is we're talking about what DNA means, how you can be affected by it, and how you can navigate around it. Because you can always navigate around it, but if you're not aware that it's there, you won't know which direction maybe, right, to go through. So we're talking about that, and then we're hearing stories, because there are so many.
Yeah.
Judy, I have a quick question for you, because you've been through this and you've been through the trauma. And, as hard as it is, what if a child, not a child, she's 20, suspected she has a sibling out there?
Yeah.
What advice would you give to her?
Is she looking or wanting to look or considering looking?
She is considering looking, and I'll just be very, very candid here. For as long as I can remember, I was married. I'm divorced now. I've always known that one day I would get a knock on my door and there would be another child involved. It has not happened yet.
Yeah.
But when we divorced, I just looked everywhere for a paper trail of something.
Yeah.
And one day my daughter came to me, and this has been about a year or so ago, and she goes, "Mom, this is really weird. I had a dream that I have a brother." I said, "Well, I'll be honest with you." I said, "I've always had that feeling." And she asked her dad. She says, "Dad, do I have a brother?" He started crying and never really answered her. But the next day he came up with his story that, well, not one that I know of. And she's very, at this point, she wants to find out. She's very curious, wants to find out, but it would upset a lot of people's carts.
It always does. And the way I always the thing that I always start with is lead with love and kindness. And she and you need to understand that upheaval and upset in other people's lives are not about you, that you have the right to your own story. You have the right to your DNA connections in your family. And that's not about anyone else. And when we worry what other people are thinking and feeling, we just have to turn it back and remember that what other people think and feel is about their life, and it's about how they navigate, and it's about their systems and what they ate for breakfast and how they slept that night. It doesn't have anything at all to do with you. And looking for her sibling is beautiful and also upsetting, right? There are so many people not talking to me anymore because I'm talking about it. I'm trying to dispel myths and make it not a dirty little secret that at the time I was born, secrecy was the rule of the day. And you just did it and forget about it, to all those things. And it doesn't have to be like that. So if you guys want to look, I recommend starting with 23andMe and Ancestry, getting DNA. And I recommend just keeping your communication open and loving, because there's a lot of feels in there. And so you can have somebody pop up through DNA. There's also people that call themselves angels that investigate these things and help you find out who they are. And they're typically people who like forensic, people in forensics, and they're doing it on their off hours because it's important to them, or they've had it done to them. And I can connect you with some angels if you would like. But the main thing, and how you can talk about it with your family, is that this is her life and she deserves to know this information, and that she's not aiming to hurt anybody. She just wants the relationship with this person. Yes. That's her sibling, and they have their lifetime ahead of them. And I've now met 2 of 3 of my new to me brothers and their kids, and now their kids are getting to know me since birth, and it's like magic. I'm gonna be with them for Hanukkah and holidays, and it's so nice. And it takes some navigation, but again, just lead with love and just stick to your boundaries about deserving and having a right to know your own history.
And that was really, I just told her, I said, you might find someone that you are so compatible with that if you went a lifetime without knowing this person, you would be missing so much. I said, the only people that are really going to be upset are the people who kept quiet or weren't honest. I said, but it was my opinion that you do have the right to know somebody, and you have to accept their decision also, whether they want to know her or not.
Right.
But I think she's going to do it. So I might reach out to you if you don't mind.
I would love that. I also have a private Facebook group, Truth Seeker, a DNA journey, that you're both welcome to come into. And that's a place where we can be open. It's judgment free and it's private. So you can talk about all these things as you go. There's sort of things that unravel as you go. And I'm I'm happy to work with you or help you process as you do it. It's, even when you find it out, it's such a mixed beauty, like beautiful. It's like a soup, right? There's all this great stuff in there. And sometimes you gotta let it cool down. Like I find that people want to know, and then I give them the space of weeks or months before I reach out again, depending on the person, depending on the situation. Some people want everything right there. They jump on Zoom, they get on a plane, and it's beautiful. And some people just take a little longer. So really managing her expectations from the beginning will be helpful.
That's beautiful advice. Thank you so much.
So, then through this, you had the encounter of Oprah.
I did.
It was something you manifested, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Why did you want to manifest Oprah?
It's a very interesting thing, right? And I was talking about deciding earlier. I had decided, I was on the phone with a friend and I claimed my decision. And I said, I decided that no matter who is mad at me, I am not going to hide this, and I'm ready to talk about it on the biggest possible scale. And I will not be ashamed that I was born. I'm grateful for my life. And about 3 days later, I got an email from a person at Oprah's, I think it was Condé Nast, through Oprah Daily. And they had seen, I believe the first thing was they had seen on my Instagram page, which is a tiny, like I only have 1,500 people. It's not like I have a big following at all, but through family members, they had seen one of my videos about it. And yeah, so I didn't reach out to them. They had reached out to me, and it's been bliss and crazy and so magic. And I did join her community, Oprah Daily. I think it's a really beautiful place. She does these classes that are like TV shows, but a lot more interaction. And I was a guest on one of those on forgiveness, and it meant the world to me to talk to her. And I had no idea that she had a DNA journey, that she had 2 sisters named Patricia. Her mom gave her first child up for adoption, and she named her second child after the first child. And so, out of the beauty of life comes this other Patricia. And so, yeah, so she was telling me about her experience having a DNA journey. It affects everybody. It's kind of a wild thing.
So, okay, so you've gone through this journey, and now Oprah shares this time now just for Nicole, because Nicole is also a forgiveness coach.
Oh, beautiful.
Yeah.
How did she react? How did she guide you to lead this forgiveness?
Well, she was curious my take on forgiveness, having my mom be deceased and moving forward in my life, and what that looked like. And she had just lost her dad. She had lost her dad a couple days before, and she was in Mississippi, so she wasn't at home. And she was having like a family crisis moment, so our conversation was very different than the one I had played in my head since high school. I always saw myself talking to her, and this was so different, and it was so bare bones, like just this really clean, honest thing, because she didn't have a buffer on that day. She was feeling very exposed. So it was a beautiful, heartfelt conversation that changed my life. But, I was telling her, I don't need to forgive my mom. I don't think my mom did anything wrong. I think my mom was doing the best that she could with her tools that she had in her life. And I love and honor my mom and all of her choices. And I don't believe there was a good way to go in this. I don't know when you can tell someone this information, right? And had she declared it to everyone at the time she was pregnant, I think she would have lost her other kids, my half siblings. And I think, it would have ended 2 marriages. And I think she was just in a place where her heart went to someone else for a time and then back. My parents chose to be in a marriage for 57 years. I can't even conceive of that. How could I judge any of it? It's not my relationship. So I don't need to forgive her. I do have moments of upset that I wish I knew my siblings growing up differently. They were family friends, so they moved away when I was 8. And so I knew them as a baby and a child, and I'm the youngest in both families. So my oldest brother was my babysitter until I was 8. And I mean, so I think about those things and I'm like, it's so messed up and it's so beautiful, right? I have a lot of feelings about it that I navigate, and I'm trying to lead with love, right? Which doesn't mean I don't get upset. And it doesn't mean that I didn't find more nachos after the fact. Like, I just need to get through sometimes, and I'm a work in progress. So, you know, and it's interesting because Dr. Carmona has also had 2 DNA surprises since we've been working together. It's so common and just not talked about, this dirty little secret. And I'm not dirty or a secret. So I'm going to talk about it. And so in talking to Oprah about it, her biggest concern for me, which was so beautiful, was that I wasn't angry. She said her sister Patricia was angry and took it to the grave. She never got out of her upset. Her mom wouldn't ever tell her who her dad was. She never found out who her dad was and carried that. I am blessed to have found out who my dad was and that he was kind to me, and I had loving memories of him. I am very lucky. I have people in my groups and people that I've met who had very different experiences. There's a gun rate, there's a suicide rate, a lot of self-harm. It's people don't know how to navigate it. It's heavy and it's strong, and it doesn't let up for a while. So that's why we're doing what we're doing. But she was so kind, and they say never meet your heroes, but she was like everything and more than what I had dreamt of her to be. And I felt very blessed to have time with her in her time of mourning, because I know I'm a safe place for her, So it just became 2 women talking, and not this icon. So in the moment, I felt like I was talking to an old friend because she was so known, you know. We've seen her bleed and weight gain and off, and we've seen her talk about everything. So she feels like an aunt or an older sister or something. So.
And you said one key thing, and I want to reiterate this because this is what you said is so important for others to hear this. And this is what I've done all through my life. And I don't know why. I always believe that, it's my older self that has talked to me since a child. The fact of when you can sit back and somebody has maybe caused harm or something to you, how you look back and saying to yourself, you know what, they didn't know any better. They did the best they could for what they had, for what they learned. Because, we learned of our parents taught what they learned. And in years back, you and I, the 3 of us, are in the same era. And what our parents learned and what their parents taught them, there wasn't the internet that we could go on and Google and find out things like we can today. It's a very different world. People didn't look to educate themselves on child rearing.
Right.
These were things that didn't. So it really helps to heal from learning to sit back and look that the people did what they did for a reason.
Right. Yes.
Yeah. And there's always intent. What was their intent? If their intent was no harm because they didn't know any better, you just have to accept that and move on. Because I'm like you. It's like my parents didn't do everything perfectly, nor did I as a parent. But I as I look back, I'm never angry at myself because I did with the knowledge that I had at that moment, make the right decision for what I thought was best for my children. It wasn't always so, but and another thing I always teach is take nothing personally.
Right.
Whatever's coming out of them, that's about them, not about you.
Right. And for all the things that I've done wrong in my life, and there's a good list, let me tell you, I am not perfect by any stretch. I'm just a person, but I recognize that I didn't do this. I wasn't the cause of this situation. Um, on a spiritual level, some people think we pick our parents and we're healing karma and that kind of thing, and that may be, but I didn't come in intending on hurting anybody. My intention is not to cause harm. So for the people I know that aren't speaking to me anymore, I just send them love, because I feel bad that they feel bad, and I don't take it on. Like I'm not carrying that around with me, but I'm not gonna be ashamed that I'm alive. I'm so grateful they had an affair. I'm so grateful that that moment happened because I'm here.
Exactly.
Beautiful.
And you're a beautiful soul for being here. So I'm grateful for that too.
Yeah, the world would have missed a lot had you not shown up.
So when you do what you do, how do people find you? How do they go about this? Because they're going to be going through their own world of now becoming, finding their own truths.
Right. So I'm on, all social media is Judy Ben-Asher. And on Facebook, if someone's had a DNA journey or discovery, they can go to my group. I'll let them in. It's not fancy. Nobody's selling anything. It's just for people to process. That's all. And it's Truth Seeker, a DNA journey. And so I'm pretty easy to find, and I will respond, not a VA or anything. It'll just be me. And I love talking to people about where they're at, and where they want to go.
And it's so true because you know what? When you're going through DNA, your DNA journey, that's another whole journey in itself.
Yeah.
And learning about yourself and let's put it this way, DNA going through that journey leads you to a lot of answers in all different fields.
Yeah.
So if you've got even something that you feel that maybe your family has some even an ailment that possibly you could be having, it's part of going through DNA to learn all of this.
Right. And it's not for the faint of heart. It's not simple, right? And it's not easy. And I'm sure you can speak to that, Glenda. It's, like my mom had ovarian cancer. She did not carry the BCRA, the BRCA gene. And I needed to know, and I wanted to know. And my dad had breast cancer and diabetes and a whole bunch of other things. And I need to know, even though it's hard, I need to know so that I can make some changes.
And that's really important because I myself, it led to a lot of major decisions in my own life by going through and doing DNA testing. And, I had questions as a child about things in my family. We have a genetic disorder in my family that runs through on my mother's side. And for years, first of all, when my mother was young, they didn't do DNA testing. So it led to a lot of things of always me questioning and people. So, when you have a child, we'll talk about this for a second because I see this in a lot of families. If you have a child and, I'm same as you, I'm very inquisitive. I need to know. I was always the kid that kept asking why, and everybody kept getting tired of me asking questions of why all the time.
Yeah.
You have a child, the whole idea is to allow that child to answer them to the best of your abilities. And when you can't, that's when you reach out and you get help.
Right.
And you start finding, because these things can change a life in totally. But so knowing that you have even diabetes running through your family can change the way that you can care for yourself, physically.
Absolutely.
So it's one of the, some of the very key points that we have to learn that instead of, closing your child down, what's wrong with having to give them more life by allowing them to explore and you to explore at the same time?
And I love that mentality, Glinda, because, when you talk about love, there's enough for everybody to go around, and what if you do meet this amazing person that becomes part of your life? I just think, I wouldn't be doing it. I'm already divorced. That would be in the past. That doesn't really affect me. But I would, if someone is out there that would love my child or be kind to my child or create a family scenario, I think she would be remiss if she didn't research that and find out for herself. We don't know how it's going to go, but it might be a beautiful thing.
Yeah, I think that it's beautiful of you to understand there could be more for her. I think I'm not a parent. I have fur babies, very different thing. But I have lots of nieces and nephew and lots of friends with kids, and parenting is a navigation in and of itself. And so for you to think through all the way to her, not just her happiness, but even past that, is so beautiful of you. And I just think that you're such a good mama for helping her through, no matter what her decisions are. I think that's just beautiful.
Thank you so much. And I would be there regardless, whether it was good or whether it was bad. And there's a way to navigate around both. And you have to take the equation out that, well, yes, there was a lie someplace. We know why there was a lie, but it is.
Well, do we know there isn't, we know why? That's a presumption, right? Because there was something that went on at time in somebody's life, and something happened. We can't perceive anything. It is what it is, right? So they've reached out to somebody else, or something happened,
right?
And there was an end result. A child was born.
Right.
Child is, in my estimation, right? So I'm just being real.
No, yeah, exactly. And to me, that my thing is, whoever you find, you might find one, who knows, it's not that person's fault. It's not that child's fault. No. So we accept them unconditionally.
Right. And sorry. I was just going to say, even past that, being raised differently by different parents, there's all that also in there. Mm-hmm. How they think and feel. But the beauty is just knowing, and I know a lot of adoptees, and I have friends that are adopted parents, and looking like someone isn't everything, right?
No,
in my family, it was a really big deal. My parents had a portrait at our front door. So right as you walked in, and it was a portrait of all the kids in the family. My oldest sister is a redhead with blue eyes. My sister who passed in the helicopter crash, Sue, she was blonde, blue-eyed. My brother has brown hair and blue-eyed. And I have black hair, olive skin, and green eyes. I don't look anything like them, And so it was the family joke. And so my situation about being so grateful that I look like my new to me family, I look like them. And it's so fun for me because I was the butt of that joke my entire life. I was, oh, you're the milkman's child, or you're the postman's child, or, and there was this weird story that always came up around how my mom got pregnant with me, that was told all the time at dinner parties and things. And, so I'm fascinated by all of that, but there's something for me to be said for looking like my siblings. It's really been fun for me. So she could look just like him,
Yeah, that would be something, wouldn't it?
It's interesting. Yeah.
Because you never know. I mean, I've got two girls and they're half Portuguese. So one is very dark like her father. The other one's very light like me. Yeah. But the one that's very light actually looks more like her dad. So you never know what you're going to get.
Right.
Yeah. Well, and it also goes down more than one generation. So
absolutely.
Right.
Absolutely.
So, and listen, in my estimations, a child is a blessing no matter what.
Exactly. Yeah, it's
Absolutely.
not biology. And, for people who've gone through what I went through with my family and kind of being tortured about it,
Yeah.
um, it's been really nice for me to look into someone's eyes that look like mine and have the same weird eyebrows and the same ears. And, you know, uh, it's just interesting.
Wow.
And I understand, how that feels about it because we're talking. I have two children and both of my kids are adopted. And, through the beginning of life, they knew from day one. I started reading books to them at the beginning. So it wasn't a surprise. It was having, two arms, two legs, and you're adopted. It doesn't. And I always look at their birth mothers for whatever happened in their life. For those children coming to me has been always my greatest joy in my life and has led me to when people talk about wealth, I look at my kids as the top wealth that I could possibly ever have in my life.
Yes.
So, of having that. So things happen for whatever reasons that they do. But any child coming into this world to be able to have a good life, and everybody deserves that. But, it's all about being able to understand. And one of my kids have wanted to learn a little more of the reasoning of who they are and what they are. And I understand that. And that's why I believe, I've always said from day one to them is whatever you need, I'll be there to help you, because it makes you understand more of who you are.
Yes. And I find now, on the other side of many things, that anytime I had a curiosity about something, there was a very big reason for it. And it didn't always happen super fast. It didn't ever happen like I thought it would. But every time I've had a curiosity, uh, there's been very good reason. So I like now to lean into my curiosity. If I want to know, I want to know all of it. I want to know as much as I can. I want to squeeze that juice,
Yeah, absolutely. I'm the same way. And Glenda and I talk about this all the time, that I plan on learning till my last breath. I can't imagine not learning new things or amazing things. So for me, I agree with you. I'm so fascinated. And the more you learn, it takes you to the next thing and the
Yeah.
next thing and the next thing. And you're like, oh my goodness, and takes you to people and takes you to places and takes you to circumstances. So to me, there's no accidents. There's no coincidences. I'm sitting here with Linda. I mean, really?
I mean, and I'm here with you guys, and
Yeah.
it's just always meant to be. And I'm a big believer, and I'm a spiritual girl, and for what that's worth, I have no idea, but I just really believe that if we trust our minds, if we trust our intuition, and we trust our curiosity and our nature, all beautiful things can happen.
Yeah, it's allowing ourselves to, like hearing, I'm a believer of hearing that voice and following that voice, that was said, because we doubt, because we overthink things.
Yeah.
So you get some type of an urge. What do you do, Judy?
I am very clear now. When I have an urge, I follow it to the end result. I start to unravel it, no matter what it is, and no matter how hard it is. And I lean in, and sometimes you have to do that with so much love and so much care. But I always am feet first. I'm always just diving in. But now I know, as I'm asking questions to someone, or I'm dealing with whatever thing I'm personally dealing with, but I have this thing, like, I need to end this relationship, and I love them, but my body and my mind are saying go, like a brick at the head, right? It's like, go, get out of, you can't be around this person. This person's really toxic for you. I am now okay with saying thank you, and wishing them everything and more in the world, and peace out, kind of. Just taking care of myself, and it's made my world smaller. it's made my circle smaller and tighter and more beautiful, and just not, it's like plugging the energy leaks, it's like plugging up the holes in the dam. And I find that every time I say goodbye, and I listen to my intuition on saying goodbye to somebody, it's because I'm supposed to meet this other person, and it wouldn't have happened had I been over here. It's just fascinating how that works,
It
as
really
one
is.
example of that.
Because
Yeah.
we tend to overthink things and we leave people in, and then allowing people at sometimes to harm us.
Right.
And of course, maybe then they're not looking to harm. They're just
No.
doing what they know. They only know better.
Right. They're using the tools that they have. But it's like meeting Dr. Carmona. I had years to go and find him after my sister's death, and I didn't feel like I needed to. But when this happened, everything in my body I just kept hearing his name in my head, and I didn't know why, so I just did it. I sent an email, and I asked to talk to him, and he called me, and now he's my business partner, and for better or worse, but it's been fascinating.
I love it. I love it.
Yeah.
And I think that's you just hit a major secret that people don't do. And for years, I didn't do it either.
Mhm.
I had these things that went on in my head and in my heart, and I kept on, pushing away because I was too busy to listen. And then when I did, my world, but for the good. And
Yeah.
that's really what it is. We have to realize that things do happen for us for the good.
Absolutely. And, we're taught to stay outside of ourselves. We're taught to be distracted with everything. We're taught to look this way when the answer is that way. And once I learned that everything was inside of me, everything I ever needed, all the answers are right there inside of me. And it's like you say, your consciousness opens, your vibration rises, and you just
Yes.
don't resonate with certain people anymore. And it's
Right.
not that you wish them harm. You just send them with love, and it's like an organic parting.
Yeah.
It's really beautiful at that point. And
It's
because we know
complete.
ourselves.
Yes. Yeah. It's like it's complete,
Mhm.
and there's no shame around something taking time, like what Glenda was saying. Sometimes it has to take time for us to be in the right mental state to be prepared for the thing, right? But today is a great day. Today's a great day to consider doing it, right? And considering all the aspects of it. So we are kind of prepared for whatever it is, just considering what could go on and being okay with everything and then doing the thing. We don't have to all be all in all the time. It's not giving someone an out. It's just saying some things take time, and that's okay.
Very
And
true.
that's my philosophy on life. My philosophy is doing baby steps, because jumping from one thing to another is too overwhelming. So
Yeah.
we can move at a slower pace and allow ourselves to accept that instead of, we spend so much time beating ourselves down.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the
Yeah.
things, right?
We're
Yeah.
very
Shame.
hard on ourselves.
Yeah. And shame is, I think, what I know now also is that shame is a choice. And when we're sorting through our feelings, we can lean into them a little bit and ask, is this a fact or is this an idea? Do I need to feel terrible because I'm overweight? Is that a fact or an idea? Well, for someone else, it could be whatever, but I have to really consider my own thoughts in my own head and my own decision on that. And the truth is, I want to be the healthiest person out there. I want a long, happy life. I want to, never feel bad a day, right? And I know that I'm starting now with it. I'm at the beginning of a new health journey for me, and weight loss and healing, and I'm okay with that. I don't have shame around it. I don't have to call myself names. That's toxic, and that just causes more bad things down the road. I want to feel good. And so I I always want to just tell people to let go of the shame wherever you can, and really just ask yourself, is this a fact or is this an idea?
I love that. I love
do
that,
too.
Judy. You are so special. Part of, you took me on a bit of a journey a few months ago, or I don't know how long, because for me, time just it doesn't stand still. But your meditations, you are really special on how you manage your meditations. You want to just touch on that for a brief minute?
Thank you. Everybody does it differently,
Yeah.
and I'm a creative. That's why I straddle so many different worlds, between film and entertainment and holistic healthcare or healing or whatever you want to call it. I love creativity, and I have a vivid imagination, so I can really imagine things and be present in that imagination. And our bodies don't know the difference, right? So when I'm teaching people to manifest, I'm also teaching them very specifically how to navigate creativity and visualization and all those things. And so when I start with meditation on that, and I lead people through a very visceral, I hope that it gets visceral, meditation, so that they're seeing colors and smells and scents and noticing everything around them while we're on this journey together, in a meditation, so that they can feel it and see it and smell it and take it in, because it can be theirs, right? So
Yeah.
yeah.
Right. Whether it's real or it isn't real, it's all in our head that makes that distinction, right?
It's everything is energy.
Yeah.
So if you think it's possible, then it's possible. Who am I to say no to somebody else? I don't know what happens in other people's minds, right? I want to keep people safe and happy and expanding, in a conscious way, and calling in with such love and intention. And so when we do a guided meditation together, it's really specific. I take people on this journey into the earth, and then through their feet chakras and all the way up and back down again. And I have a blast when I do it. It's my happy place, doing a meditation. It makes me so happy.
And we feel it all the time. Wow. Well, we're at the end of our hour, and time always, I said, goes by very fast. It's the only thing that we can't get back in life. And that's
Yes.
why what we talked about today matters so much to so many people out there. So if you are feeling something that maybe you want more answers in your life and nobody's giving you the answers, and maybe you're scared, well, you know what? You don't have to do it alone.
No.
And that's why we have Judy on today. So she can be the person that you can just talk to and see. She'll lead you to the steps that you need to go to, and you can make that final decision. But you don't have to make that time alone on your own and feeling like all the world is on your shoulders, because it does feel like that when you're going through something as that. So, Judy, thank you so much. We will be putting Judy's link under the video, so you will be able to reach out and find her, and also her link to her video with Oprah, so you can watch that as well. And listen, this is what it's all about, listening to yourself. Nicole, do you have any last moment thoughts before we finish up?
Well, of course I do. And I'm so impressed with everything that she has said today, Judy. Everything resonates with me, and I'm really quite on the same page. But what I want our listeners to think about is what she talks about, leading with love, for yourself and for others, even if you have to sever the relationship at that time. And I think it's really, really important what you said, Judy, about let's not judge people for the past, because they did the best they could at the time with the tools they have. And when that happens, I think, we just have to let things go. And you don't want that lingering in you anyway. So
No.
you have gave it, the information that you've given us today is absolutely brilliant. And I hope so many people reach out to you because you have a beautiful and bright path that just shines. So thank you so much for being here today. I love it. And thank you for the advice. That really means a lot to me because I've been mulling that over, and you led with love once again, and it's a beautiful path I think we can go down. So thank you. Yeah.
Well, a last minute thing before we leave, Judy.
Well, I just wanted to say thank you so much for asking me to be a part of this conversation. I'm so happy to meet all of your listeners ever. Please reach out. I would love to meet you. But the two of you, just big hugs, everyone.
Thank you.
But I'm just grateful for your time and this gift that you gave me of this last hour, and just thank you. Thank you for what you do in the world.
It's my pleasure. Our pleasure.
Beautiful.
Thank
Yes.
you all. And thank you all for watching. If you know of anybody that this could be of help to, please share it. In the meantime, love us and share us and just let us know. You know, if you have something you're struggling with, we're here to help you out. With that, enjoy your day.